Okay, so I dyed this yarn. I used the correct formulation for everything, for acid, amount of water, amount of dye per yarn weight, and this is what I'm getting. Now remember, just because you add more acid does not mean it's going to push those dye molecules onto the yarn. It's just not going to work that way, especially for this hot fuchsia, because it has a neon-y kind of thing in it, and maybe that's the issue, I'm not sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until it gets to the color that I want it to be. So this is pretty pink, and I think this is about as dark as it's going to get. So this is 1% depth of shade. I'm going to add some more yarn that I soaked in plain water. There's no acid in it because there's already acid in that big pot. So I'm going to add that in there, and I'm going to use it as, some people call it soakers, to take up the rest of the dye. So what I'm hoping is this soaker or this other yarn will pull up the rest of the dye molecules in the pot. This won't be quite as dark as this one, but you're still going to get a lovely shade, and you're going to get it to exhaust. Okay, so let it cook for a while, and then we'll come back and take a look. Okay, here we go. The dye is set, or the dye is cured, and this is your workaround to exhaust hot fuchsia. Okay, so let's first look at the water and see if it completely exhausted. So let me grab a little bit, and let's see if we can see that. Just a little bit of pink is left, and I'm telling you, this is that neon weird color that's in there. Jacquard, what are you doing to us? This is one of the hardest dyes I've ever dyed. But anyway, what I did is, this is the original yarn that was in there. This is the 1%, and this is the color I wanted to get, but it wouldn't exhaust. So I added some yarn that was soaked, and it still had a lot of dye in there. So I actually added a skein that I didn't soak, just to throw it in to get that dye to uptake. Sometimes you just got to keep throwing stuff in there to soak up some of the dye. Okay, let's take a look. And this still did not fully exhaust, even with me throwing all this yarn in there. Anyway, tell you what, let's take all this yarn over to the sink. Let's put it in some soapy water, and let's see if it bleeds at all. I am filling up the pot with cold water, and you know what's really weird is it did almost exhaust at 0.25, but again, that would make a very light pink color. In fact, this is the 0.25, this is the 1%. So if you want the really dark color, what I would say is dye it at 1% depth of shade. Wait till you get that dark pink color, then just add a bunch of yarn to soak up the rest of the color that is in the pot. We have this full. Let's add a little bit of kookaburra wash. And let's just dump all that yarn in there. I don't know if it's going to bleed. This is going to be interesting to see. Let's go ahead and just take this out for a second and see. A very, very, very faint pink. So after that soap washing, I did a soak in clear water to get rid of the soap, but check this out. I don't see any bleeding, so this actually kind of worked. Even though it didn't fully exhaust, it's not bleeding, and you can be sure that you are selling or using yarn that isn't going to bleed on your customer or isn't going to bleed on you. Just make sure when you set your garment or weaving or whatever you use this yarn for, use cold water and use a soap only formulated for wool. Don't use any laundry detergent or Dawn, because it could release some of that dye. So make sure and use the proper soaps, and you shouldn't have any issues. With this color dye, with the hot fuchsia, it is a little bit challenging, but it's doable. So good luck, best of luck. And now you know kind of the workaround with the Jacquard Hot Fuchsia. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again.